Hey, what's up, Byron?
What's going on, Frank? Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you too, bro. What's happening?
I'm good, man. Still here, still here.
Right,
I remember
exactly.
that
Amen for
background
that.
from the last time.
Right. Amen, bro.
Hey, good to still be here, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Well, look, I want to jump right in because there's so many things that I am excited to talk to you about that we didn't get to
Okay.
cover the last time we were on. But first, just tell me, how are you handling quarantine right now?
You know what? It's like really cool for me. I'm not complaining. It's funny how God works. So right around Christmas, a little bit before, I had decided to rebuild my studio. My
Mm.
son was doing some music, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to help you do this music. So I started rebuilding my studio, not knowing what was coming. And ironically, a week before I finished my studio, the pandemic really hit. A
Look at
week
that.
later, I was operating from my house in my studio. So it's kind of comfortable for me. It's like in my office, and I come in here and work. I get up in the morning, come down here and work. I'm able to be here with my new daughter. I've been kind of out in the backyard being, a botanist and a horticulturalist and building, gardens and stuff. So I've been, I'm not complaining, bro.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, you actually were trying to get the studio to let you have your home studio for a little while, but this kind of forced their hand, right?
You know what's amazing is, yeah, they were never really like up for us not being there. That was not really their thing. And, when this thing hit, we were forced to be here. And I think that's really what's happening with a lot of businesses. America was very behind on the curve of people working from home.
Yes.
And one thing this pandemic has done is shown America that, we can work from home, and it's actually cheaper all the way around. Office prices are way too high.
That's the
People were
truth.
spending millions of dollars a year on office space for no reason, for people to be comfortable to do a lot of stuff they could do at home.
That is a fact right there, brother. That
Yeah.
is a whole fact. And have you felt like you've enjoyed it more than actually being in the studio? Because the studio is a whole
Um,
different experience.
yeah, what makes it easier is being able to have like Skype and Facebook Messenger where you can like see everybody. So we're still looking. I mean, it's only me on the air,
You're
but I'm
right.
able to look at my technical producer and my producer, and we
Mm.
get on early in the morning. We talk, and then when the show starts, everybody sees each other. It's almost like now I'm used to it. And I know a lot of shows, like a lot of the syndicated shows, were doing that all along. So like Steve Harvey and Ricky and Tom Joyner, a lot of their people were already in different places anyway. So we were just behind the curve on it.
Yes. Well, I will say that you, first of all, let me give you your props because you are quite amazing. Your
Thank you, bro.
background is absolutely, brother, from one black man to another. Your legacy is real, living legacy, and you have been honored by so many people from Jesse Jackson to I mean all the way down. Like we could
Yeah.
list off the people that you have been uh, renowned by. But let me give you this for those people right now who are taking full advantage of this time. I've heard that a lot of celebrities they are not as big as they used to be in the eyes of the ordinary American they because you got people that are coming up out of nowhere, right? That are
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
opportunity to have these platforms with
Yeah.
no big concerts and things like that. The ordinary person can get online and have equal balance with
Right.
a big league player. Tell somebody who is trying to develop or grow something how you started and how you really got your name out there when you had no big name. Now you are Frank Ski, but how were you able to get started?
It's very interesting. I always tell people that really when you have God in your life, he'll put you in different positions, right?
Yes.
So the idea of me being on the radio and a radio DJ was not my idea. So
Mm.
in all honesty, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I was in DC and I thought that's what I was going to do. I was working in some very high profile law firms, but I had this passion for music. So on the side, I was starting to do music. Now, I
Mm.
started off as a rapper, like rapping back in the day.
Do
And
brag.
I wasn't very good, bro. But so what eventually happened was I started to learn how to DJ. I had a partner who I was finally out on my own. My aunt had put me out in DC. I was by myself. I'm in this apartment and I had saved up my money and I had two turntables and a mixer and a pair of speakers.
Yes.
And I was just practicing. And, you know, in an efficiency at DC with no air conditioning. So the windows are open, and then I hear a knock on the door, and it just happens to be this brother named Larry G, who was from New York, who was a good DJ. And him and I became friends, and he really taught me how to DJ. And so that's when I started getting into the DJ side. So I was DJing a lot of parties around campus. And while I was at the clerk's office in DC one day working, a guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, aren't you the guy who DJs parties around campus?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know, we have a college radio station.
Wow.
How would you like to have a show?" And one thing led to another. I get on this show that was only 1 hour on a Saturday, but it was the first radio station in DC that played hip hop. Like, we were the first. And I'm showing my age here, but we were the first. And,
you got it, brother.
yeah. So the thing is, it's funny how I got into that. And then eventually I had a partner at the firm who was a lawyer that I worked for. I was his paralegal, and the DC paper one day had put the list of the top DJs in DC, and I was on the cover of this DC paper. And this lawyer calls me and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, this is my life, working at the law firm, but DJing is just something I like to do." He said, "Is that your passion?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You need to live your passion." And I thought I was going to get fired, you know, because my identity as a DJ back then was not like law firmish, right? But he actually, you know, told me, he said, "I got a deal for you." He said, "How about I manage you?" So this is the guy I work for. He decided to manage. He said, "I always wanted to get into entertainment law. You can be my first client and I'll manage you." And that began a mentorship where he became my life mentor, like a father to me. And he managed me going from a street DJ, college radio DJ, to where I am now. And I always tell people, you got to surround yourself around people who do things better than you. I was never good at business. He was always business. He was always detailed. He was always right on time, always had great advice. And I was this street kid that was just causing trouble. And, you know, he basically guided me to where I am now. And interesting enough, the skills that I learned at a law firm was I would actually go to the depositions, and in these rooms while they were deposing, you know, people, and asking them questions, I watched how the lawyers broke people down and went back and forth with questions and how to get the things they wanted out of a person, and body language and the whole thing. And that's exactly the skill that I use now on the radio when I interview people.
That is, let me tell you something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let me tell you something about God right there.
God, man. Only God, bro. Only God, bro.
Tell some, because when I do these interviews, I really am trying to help somebody out there who is struggling in some area. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs right now who are working a 9-to-5, and they have this great dream, like you in the law firm, and they have this passion that's somewhere else. How do you maintain your integrity on your job while you are building your own passion and dream?
Well, one thing that I did is when I was the street DJ working at the law firm, I never let the law firm know what I was doing. So I actually back in the day had like a long tail in the back, and I would tuck it in my shirt with my shirt and tie. I just never really told anybody what I was doing at work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So at work, I was always about that job, so that I never got criticized at the law firm for being distracted while I was doing something else. Sometimes people want to use their real job to make money to support their dream, right? And then you're not really focused on your real job, and your real job is not really your priority, you know. But I tell people, keep your priorities straight until you're able to walk away and do it on your own. You know, so if you have a passion, if you are making art or selling tummy tea or whatever, don't hit up your people at work. You know what I mean? Keep it totally separate so that somebody says, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing that." I do that. But, you know, that's just something I do just, you know, on my spare time, because you never want nobody to question your integrity and your priorities from the place that's actually feeding you and paying the bills. So many times, especially as African Americans, we always want to eat off people and not really like pay the respect for the place that you're at. You get what I'm saying? And that's like, even honestly, truly, even when I got into radio, I had the opportunity many times to DJ and travel around the world and be this DJ. And I had to really make the decision, is it radio that I want to do, or do I want to continue to be a DJ? Because if I was going to be DJing parties in other countries, I was going to miss a lot of time on the air, and that was going to take the priority away from what I was doing. And a lot of things I let go of. I let go of, acting roles. I let go of tours with artists. I let go of a lot of things where sometimes I look back and say, man, what if I would have done that? But, I got to thank God, because I've had a very special radio career that I'm happy with.
You should be. I've really heard that you need to work another person's vision like it's yours to see the blessings come back on your life. So I can see that that's the reason why you have gotten such success in yours, because you have so masterfully respected other people's fields, if you will. You worked in their fields, and in that you were able to reap back. So congratulations on all the work you've put in and how you're seeing it back in your life now. Absolutely, man. And by the way, you made that comment about looking older, being older, but let me just tell you something. You look good. So God bless you for that. I want to do that. I want to do that when I get that age. Amen.
Okay. All right.
My brother. But you must be doing something right, because you got a new baby girl, and so you're not as old as.
Well, we men, so men stuff always works. You know what I'm saying? We can have babies at 80.
That's right.
So it's okay for us. Yeah.
Tell us how it is being a new dad again. You got 4 boys, but you got a brand new girl. Like, how is that? She's just turned 1 year old a month or two back. So how is it being a dad of a young girl?
It's really got kind of like changed my life a lot. And I will say that having boys, I loved having boys, because I'm like the fun dad, right? So I'm the dad where everything along the stages, I introduced them to the things that I had fun doing, whether it was fishing or model rocketry or whatever. Like, having boys was really dope for me. And I never really had the experience of having a girl, but having a girl, being a man, is a whole different paradigm. And I can't imagine, this is what I can't imagine. I can't imagine any man that has fathered a daughter and is not seeing her or taking care of her on a regular basis. I cannot fathom how that is. The love from a daughter to a father changes your life and gives you an energy that you never had before. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like with my boys, there's so much love and attention and affection that I had with them. And it was kind of like a mentorship, getting them where they need to be from a father to a son. With a daughter, it's more of protective and love and affection and empathy, and you know what I mean? And it gives you a different perspective. And I've just say I've gotten a whole lot younger.
There's nothing wrong with that, brother. There is nothing wrong with that. Well, you have to stay young, because you still have a lot going on. In January, your show just transitioned, right? You just changed names. You got a new crew. Have y'all slated when you're going to come back into the studio?
No, I haven't. And to be honest, so Jade, who was a musical artist and a musical phenom, she's a genius artistically. It was having to get up and be at work every day at 5 and 5:30 for an artist that is in the studio late at night and touring was really taxing. And it really took a lot away from her music thing. And she decided to go back into the music. And I really respect her for doing that. JR is an accomplished sports person, and a sportscaster. And he not only was offered, but accepted. JR is now heard nationally on CBS Radio. CBS Radio National. He has his own show. comes on at 10 o'clock at night, and you can check them out on CBS, all the CBS stations across the country, including in Atlanta at 92.9 The Game and on radio.com. So I'm flying solo. Now, I had Ebony Steele and Ronnie Jordan, who I love them together, and we had a great time. I mean, the chemistry was beautiful. And then right in the midst of us really clicking, the pandemic hit. So we haven't been together yet. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for this thing to end, try to put that crew back together, get everybody in the studio.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, brother. Whatever you touch turns to gold. So we know that's going to be all right. We know that's going to be all right. Absolutely. Yeah. Tell me about your name, because, of course, Ski is not your last name, for those who don't know. But how did the name come about? And so let's start there. How did the name come about?
So it's really interesting. So when I was young, I was growing up in Miami with my father. So my dad was a single dad. I was growing up with my father. And every vacation time period that I had more than a few days off, my dad was working for the airlines at the time. And I would get on a plane and go home to New York and visit my New York family. My mother, my grandmother, everybody was in New York City in Harlem. And at the time, hip hop was birthed in New York, and everybody had these names. So my first name was Frankie D, like D, right? Like Heavy D, Schoolie D, whatever, Frankie D. Then after a while, people started using the name Ski. So you had Joe Ski, something Ski, and I said, well, I'm gonna name my name Frank Ski because I really like that. So I called it Frank Ski. Now, when I would come to Miami, hip hop wasn't there. And then even when I went to DC after high school, hip hop really wasn't there. So I was able to keep the name Ski. Ironically, my first offer on a big radio station was a station in Washington, DC. And it was a mainstream station like V103 Atlanta or any big mainstream radio station. And the program director, not going to say his name, but the program director wanted to give me a job. So he brought me in at night and he was training me overnight. So I would go in like 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning. And then I'd leave there and go to the law firm, right? Wow. And one day he was like, I'm going to give you this job, but under one condition. And I said, yeah. He said, I don't like the name Frank Ski. Dude, for real? Dude, for real? Wow. I wasn't like, I didn't pray about it. But I remember something inside was like, that's who you are. So when I went into his office, he said, well, do we have a deal? And this was the dream. Like, I'm going to go from being 18 years old on a mainstream radio station back then in Washington, D.C. And I had to change my name from Frank Ski. He was like, anything else but Ski. Woo. And he was like, whatever you choose, you're going to be great. We're going to make you great. And I said, yeah, but you hired me because I'm Frank Ski. Like, you wanted me because I have all this pull in the street. I'm popular. You know, people love me and they love Frank Ski. So why would I change the name? And all my family, like a lot of family members was like, dude, it's just a name. It's just a name. And I was like, no, it's me. It's who I am. It's my ID. Right. So to them, they didn't understand what hip hop was doing at the time in the street and how big it was. So that was my brand. Right. And I said, no. And he was like, well, good luck in your career. And he never hired me. Wow. And it was 2 years. I went 2 years without getting what seemed was like a mainstream radio job. And so I kept the Ski and I've had it all along.
You are attached to that like Tina Turner.
Right, man. No, I'm not taking that. It is what it is.
In the culture that we live in, there are a lot of people who do a lot of different things with their name. How have you been able to maintain your name? Because you've put it on a few different things. How have you been able to really maintain your name and the integrity of that name where a lot of people aren't doing that these days?
You know, it's really difficult because on one hand, when people that see me at the club for the first time DJing, they kind of have this, they stare. They're like, because it's like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, right? So when I'm on the air, I'm, you know, a little serious sometimes, you know, I'm passionate. I'm not very funny, but I'm a little humorous, and I know how to pass the ball to the funny people on the show. And my job is to just keep time and keep everybody together and whatever.
Right.
And then when I get to the club and I'm like the DJ Frank Ski, people are like, "Oh, damn!" And I remember one time I was in Atlanta, and I had just started playing at this club called Kaya. Now, coming from Baltimore, when I DJ'd, I cussed a lot. Like I'll still say damn and shit, and I'll say that, right?
Right.
But like you won't catch me using the F-bomb. And I remember I had said something like, all my bitches or whatever. I said that, right? And this lady wrote me this long letter, right? She was like, "That does not look good on you." And she really broke me down. She broke me down. And you know what? I said, "You know what? You're right. Like I can do what I do without saying bitch." And so when I DJ, I don't say that. Like I'll play records that say it,
right?
But I personally won't say it. And I think that now I've kind of gotten used to how to, change scenes and do one thing to the next to the next.
That's good, man. I mean, that's a good word. And she gave you good advice. I mean,
yeah,
it's difficult.
Like we don't have to. We don't. I don't believe you have to use the word to make a point.
You don't.
I don't believe you have to. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there anything that you wouldn't censor about who you are that maybe people wanted you to?
I remember when I was doing music. I was, when I was making Doodoo Brown, and at the time, we had gotten an offer from Capitol Records, and so Capitol Records was like after us, and they wanted me to. They're going to put a lot of money into the Doodoo Brown thing and whatever. And I remember when I sent him the next song, he was like, "You sound too proper." It's like, you're rapping like you're on the radio. Oh. And I was like, well, you could tell what I'm saying, right? And he was like, he said, no, he said, what I want you to do is I want you to smoke a joint and have a few drinks and then go in the booth and do the rap. And I remember like, I was like, nah, because back in the day, listen, when I was younger, I smoked weed.
Right.
I still drink in the club, and that thing just didn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? And I said, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But what's interesting is when I listen to people like, when I listen to Ludacris, you could tell Ludacris used to be on the radio because he's very articulate and you can understand every word he says. And I don't believe you have to sound ghetto to make a hit record. I don't believe that. Now I understand, the slang, and I understand the culture and whatever and the words, because they're bringing an identity to life. And if that's them, then all power to them. At the time, I just didn't feel like that was something that I wanted to do.
Makes sense to me. Well, you have done something you wanted to do, and that was marry your beautiful wife. How long have you been together now?
Well, we got together in 2016. We started dating at the end of 16. So we got married at the end of 17, and the rest is history.
I love it. I love it. And she's a doctor now. So how is she handling everything with COVID and then Atlanta opening up and all of that?
It's really been stressful because she travels to 5 different hospitals during the week. And she has to go into the hospital to see patients, and then patients come to her office. She's a maternal fetal medicine specialist. So she has patients that have had COVID and whatnot. So it's stressful for her more than it is for me, but it's stressful for her because she knows she's coming home to a 1-year-old.
Right.
And that's been very difficult. So when she comes home, it's the whole, there's a bag of clothes downstairs that she comes in. She uses the downstairs bathroom and washes up, changes her clothes, puts her clothes in a bag, throw them in in the laundry room to be washed. So, we're really cautious about that.
I love it. And keeping in quarantine right now, how have you been able to maintain your sanity?
For me, it's cool because I'm really getting a lot done. You know, I'm getting a lot done. I miss, what I miss the most, honestly, is my escape every day was, you know, because we get in the morning show in the morning and people don't understand. It's like high velocity from 6 to 10. It's a lot. It's like this, you know, you barely have enough time to run out the studio and go to the bathroom. And so that's been like a dip. That was like, we're like this, like this, like this. And then as soon as we get off, the salespeople are after us. So we got to do commercials. We got to do production. We got to meet. We got to do this. We got to get on the phone. We got to brainstorm. We got to do this. And it's like 12, you know, 12:30. So most times we don't get to eat breakfast. We're coming in, we're starving. And my escape, my decompress was to go and sit at a bar and have lunch. I'd have a glass of wine and I'd have lunch sitting at the bar, and I go through my phone and answer emails and text messages. And I really miss that. I really miss that. I miss entertaining people, like, you know, doing a club once or twice a week. I miss entertaining people. You know, that's really kind of what I miss. I really need a vacation, bro, you know, because dude, like, I think the last time I was off was like November. So, you know, and right now that I don't know, like, you know, everybody's just needs a vacation, you know, and it's kind of hard. Like every hotel, everything is booked up for Memorial Day. So, you know, it's about to be crazy.
Yes. The whole city, they said, I mean, pretty much open at this point. And back to business for for Memorial Day. It's big business for the city of Atlanta, especially. So, yeah, we're all crossing our fingers that it's not like some health officials are expecting that it will be, which would be a great transfer of corona. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do know that you do love your red wine, and you've been doing your wine of the day. What has been your favorite out of the selections you've tried so far?
You know, I was introduced to a lot of new stuff. I'm a big fan still of California Cabernets. That's really been my favorite for a long time. But I like trying different things. Interesting enough, I've really gotten to a lot of different whites from around the world, white wines, and I'm not a big white wine drinker, but, you know, eating at home every night and cooking or ordering in, like, you know, a couple days a week, I'm opening white wines, and I'm starting to really, you know, find stuff like, you know, like some great Burgundies out of France that are just so rich and pure, and I kind of like it. So I'm all over the place with my wine selections, but Napa Cabs are my favorite.
I love it. I got to ask this question, by the way. What's been your favorite interview to conduct ever?
Wow. My favorite interviews, I think my number one interview, because it meant so much to me, was when I sat down and did Coretta Scott King's last interview. That was very important for me. I recently sat down and did a life interview. I haven't released it yet, with Ambassador Andy Young. We sat down and we had some bourbon together, and we had a great conversation. I've had some really great interviews in my life that have really stood out. I remember I was at Desmond Tutu's house in South Africa. That was really memorable to hear his perspective on racism and whatnot. I've had great interviews with all the entertainers. I loved talking to Stevie Wonder, you know, just about personal stuff, and Jay-Z, you know, just about personal stuff that people really wouldn't ask or don't know. But it's, you know, it runs the gamut.
That's awesome. I must use this time wisely and make sure to ask a question that's a little selfish. I will be honest. For you, the master of interviewing, what have been your key techniques when it goes into interviewing somebody? What do you go in thinking, and how do you prepare? Well,
I think I never. Here's my thing. I'm not a shock jock, right? So I'm not looking for the headline that's going to go viral and all that kind of stuff, right? So I really like to know people for who they are. I'm really interested in people's life stories, because mine was so crazy and interesting.
Right.
And I really like to hear other people's interviews. And honestly, truly, I learned a lot of my technique about, like, now, because I'm not an expert and learn. I like to listen to a lot of NPR interviews. I think NPR interviews, they do probably the best interviews on radio. I like the way they tell a story and interview at the same time. Unfortunately, you know, in our station, we play commercials and music. We don't have really that kind of time to do it.
Right.
But I like doing that. I think the best thing for an interview is you got to realize that people are always going to be guarded when they come to an interview, because they don't want to say or, you know, put out the wrong thing or the wrong image. So people are often going to be guarded. And what I like to do is make people feel comfortable. And in all honesty, most everybody that I've interviewed, I've become friends with. You know, I can call them because they know I'm not trying to, you know, go crazy with it. And I think that I like to compliment people when I interview them. I like to tell them what I see in them when I interview them. I like to talk about their accomplishments and ask them how they got to that accomplishment. One of the things that most people that do interviews don't ever get a chance to do is people think that your story is whatever the topic that you're being interviewed about, right?
Yeah.
Where really somebody's story really takes place from when they were 10 years old. That's when somebody's story really take place.
That's
because
good.
What happens to somebody at 8 to 12 years old really formulates their thinking into who they become when they're 30, 40, and 50 years old. Now, the decision making when they're younger might not be as good as their decision making when they're older, because we all make mistakes and we learn and we move forward. But the actual character of the person is really that little person.
Yes.
That's really inside of there, right?
Yes.
So I asked Jay-Z one time, I asked him, I said, let me ask you a question. When you rap, you put in these subtle notes that are geared to women. You talk about fashion, clothes, bags, shoes, you know, only wear Burberry to swim. Like, you throw in these subtle things to women about clothes and shoes. And I said, why is that? And he said, I used to visit my father in New York because he worked in the clothing district. And when the clothes came in, he was the person that would take them off the trucks and do the fashion on Fashion Avenue, send it, whatever. And I said, really? He said, my father could look at a woman and tell me her size and her shoe size. And that was him growing up as a kid.
Wow. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that whole fashion thing, he's already been a part of it since he was little. You get what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, that's what the advice I would give to people is get to know the person you're interviewing. And unfortunately, you know, when you go to Wikipedia, it's only this big about somebody's personal early life. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's good to ask them. You know, I remember when I was interviewing T.I., the first time when T.I. first came out, and I asked him about school, and he said that he used to be able to leave school and go to McDonald's because he would bring McDonald's for the teachers, right? And I said, oh, you was a teacher's pet? And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, how did you do at school? And he said, I got straight A's in math. And it makes sense, dude. It makes sense. You get what I'm saying? Yes. So here you are in school and you are a freaking straight A math student and you can do stuff with your eyes closed, which really makes sense. And even though the path that he took to get to where he's going was a product of his environment, right? But I always tell people all the time, like a lot of these kids that are out here trapping and doing whatever that are really like on top of their game, they're some of the smartest people you ever meet. Like they can do numbers, keep numbers in their head, do equations, whatever. They don't forget. They got, you know, the memory like you would not believe. They know names, faces, numbers. They know account numbers. They know phone numbers without looking at a phone. Like there's a lot to people. And sometimes you got to really get into like what makes them tick, and that'd be my advice.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that. You're gonna hear that again.
It's all good. It's all good, bro.
What are you working on next? What is your next thing that you really feel like is near and dear to your heart? Because you got your Franksky kids and all these
Yeah.
things that you're working. But what is like most dear to you right now?
Right now, my son Harrison is really an artistic genius. He really is. All of my kids are special and they all do different things. Harrison is like, he's got like a 4.4 GPA in college. He speaks fluent Mandarin. He's been to college in China several years in a row. He's an accomplished trumpet player. Now he's in the studio making music and whatever. And I told him that I had this idea that I wanted to do, and I want to make an ambient chill album. Like I say that a lot of people might not know what I'm talking about, but imagine the music when you walk into like the W Hotel, right?
Right.
It's like an ambient chill album, and I want to do this album on climate change. And I want to put the album out, and all the proceeds from the album go to the Franksky Kids Foundation to help us with these kids as we teach them about the environment and climate change. And so
awesome.
that's my next project that I'm working on now. So I think I'm in the studio. I'm actually I just finished a song with the Yin Yang Twins. Danny Class just came into Atlanta, and him and I are going to work on a song this week. Be in the studio with my son Harrison on his project, and then Harrison and I are going to lock ourselves in the house and work on this ambient album.
I love it. Congrats on that. And that's great that you get to work with your son. I will give you a little suggestion for that, and that is Google Death Stranding. Death is in died, Stranding. That is a video game, and it's out of Japan. But
Death Stranding.
Yes, Death Stranding. The reason why you want to Google that is that album for the video game is actually all about that, about the environment and everything like that. So the music on there is like top notch, and it sounds like what you're aiming for. I would look that up.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. Yes, it will come right up.
Okay.
Yes, I love it. So I get to help out a little bit too. So I want to definitely ask this question for somebody who is out there. It was a good question that came up. Have you ever had a negative interview, and how did you handle the energy that was there?
I have had a negative. I have had negative interviews. It's funny. One day, I had twice that I almost went to blows with somebody I was interviewing very early on. Now, not so much, but very early on.
Yes.
Well, now, yeah, it has happened before too. Sometime doing the morning show, you'll get people that come in and they're tired, and they're like, they come in and put their head down and whatever. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do you a favor, bro.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like before I would out them on the radio and be like, are you sleeping on my show? Like that. But now I'll do it in a break. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe we just, you know, and I cut people off and just move on. I don't really take it. I remember one time my buddy, he's my buddy now, Tevin Campbell came in, and I asked him a question, and he got really offended by the question, and him and I almost started fighting in the studio. It was the most hilarious thing, but we're friends now, right? That, and I remember there was a rapper one time who just came. You know, this is when I'm at night, and because I used to do like the nighttime show, with all the hip hop, and the artists would come and whatever. And the rapper was very popular, came to the door and was like, yo, this is my new music. You got to put it on right now. And I was like, bro, that ain't the way it goes. Well, what the F you mean that ain't the way it goes? Like, dude, you know who I am? I know who you are, but I just can't put something on their head. You ain't shit, whatever. What I was like, you ain't shit either. And we started fighting in the lobby in the middle of my show, and the record is on, and I'm fighting this dude in the middle. And luckily, one of the other stations in the station at the time in Baltimore, their DJ had walked by, he came out and broke it up, and the guy left. But I've had some negative interviews, yes.
Sounds like real life.
Yes. Yes.
I want to make sure, last one, for all of
Okay.
our lovers out there who are in healthy relationships, how do you, with your lovely wife, keep it fresh on a daily basis?
Well, here's the thing. Most married people will say it don't happen like they think it happens, right?
Right,
Because you married,
right,
right? You know, it ain't like you're dating and you go home, right?
right.
When you're dating and you go home and you come back, that's you can always do that. But when you're married, it's kind of difficult. But what we like to do is we like to have date nights. I think date nights are important. I think doing special things for each other is important. I think that I've turned out where I'm the cook. You know, I've never really been the cook, but I'm not afraid, so I'm learning.
That's
And she
awesome.
enjoys the fact that I'm the cook because she's working, and you know, she comes in tired, play with the baby, and then she's tired and whatever, and so I'll cook. And I just think that's sexy and romantic. I'm always doing things for her. I try. I've learned that my love language is, you know, I show affection by giving gifts and whatever. So that's my love language. But, you know, you got to keep it fresh by, you know, taking time out for yourself. You know, we still will go, and our first date was like at the Four Seasons having a bottle of wine. So her and I still go to wine tastings all the time. We'll go out and she'll be excited when a new wine is coming out and they're having a wine tasting.
That's awesome.
So we try to do stuff like that.
That's really good, brother. Man, you are one of the greats. Thank you so much.
No problem, Byron. She just heard me talking about her,
She
man.
heard you talking. Tell her hello. We can say hello. Come on, hey, love. How you doing? Thank you so much for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Man,
anyway,
I can tell you're happy, and I can tell that with the new addition to your family, you are doing some beautiful things, not just in the house, but outside of the house. I just hope that you keep staying safe, and that you know that we love and appreciate you and appreciate the integrity of all the work, the body of work that you have. So
thank you.
Keep shining, brother. Keep shining.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely. See you
All
soon.
right. See ya.
Come back soon, all right?
All right.
All right.